I'm C. Mohan. I'm an IBM fellow at the IBM Almaden Research Center in San Jose, and I'm also a distinguished visiting professor at Tsinghua University in Beijing. My main area of work has been from my PhD days on in the database, hardcore database arena, and it's about 2 years since I started working on the blockchain technology. And IBM is considered a leader in this space, having invented what is now called the Hyperledger fabric. So, one of the things to keep in mind if you are exploring this space and wondering, which system should you choose and things like that for adoption and implementing a use case scenario, the current state of affairs is pretty chaotic. Unlike, for instance, when relational database systems came out about 40 years ago, and I know quite a bit about it, even though it was a bit before I joined IBM, at least there was a conceptual model that was common across the different systems that were being developed. Whereas if you now look at the current state of affairs in the private blockchain space, each of these systems has its own APIs as well as underlying conceptual model. So even the feature set, let alone the APIs, amongst these different systems are different. And in particular, a system like R3 Corda, which has been developed by a consortium of banks, has, as part of its conceptual model, certain features that are common amongst financial applications. Whereas if you look at Fabric, it's more of a bare bones kind of system in which, if you want, you can implement all sorts of features. So it's got more of a pluggable kind of architecture where the consensus protocol can be changed, where the database system could be changed, and things like that. So if you are out there wanting to be in the bleeding edge and start exploring and even getting into production usage with a blockchain system, you better be careful because there are no standards currently. The only saving grace with blockchain technology compared to, let's say, NoSQL and such areas is that, at least in the case of these private blockchain systems, the work is being done in the form of consortia. So the number of consortia is much smaller than the number of organizations out there that have put out NoSQL systems. So what I tell people normally is that they have to do their homework to more clearly understand the feature set of the different blockchain systems that are out there. Enterprise Ethereum, R3 Corda, BigChain DB, Hyperledger Sawtooth, Hyperledger Fabric, and on and on. And there are attempts at standardization. There is an IEEE group that's trying to come out with some standards. But even these consortia themselves, like Hyperledger and Enterprise Ethereum, they are not attempting to, with respect to each consortia, come out with just one conceptual model and one set of APIs. They have the attitude of, we will allow multiple kinds of systems to be developed by each of the consortia. So this is a problem because if you choose to go with a particular system, 2 years down the line, 5 years down the line, you might discover that you bet on the wrong horse and now you have the monkey on your back to either rewrite your application to make it run on some other system, and that can be painful because, as I said, even the conceptual models are not necessarily common. Or if the system that you chose to use to begin with is an open source system and you have the wherewithal, money-wise, talent-wise, to be able to take on the responsibility for not only, fixing bugs that come about in that system by taking, if you like, ownership of the code base, but also having to, over time, add new features to it and things like that. And this is not an easy task. And so this is one more reason that you better pay careful attention to what is the current adoption scenario for the different systems that are out there and what organizations are behind such systems as a way of making a more thought out decision about which system to go with. Of course, you could also say, well, what the heck, I'm going to wait around till the dust settles and a standard is arrived at, and then all these existing systems adapt themselves to go and implement the standard conceptual model and APIs. But who knows how long that will take, and you might be the loser if you wait too long, because your own competitors in your domain might be more aggressive and they might choose to adopt these systems even when there are no standards, and they get some benefit out of it and you don't have the benefit of whatever it is that this new technology brings to the table in your domain.